Welcome back to another episode of the Owl Talk podcast. We're doing things a little bit differently for this episode. Today, we are talking to graduating seniors around the country. In fact, as their time as undergraduates comes to an end, so will this season of Owl Talk, which I'll talk about a little bit later. However, we have a bunch of graduating seniors to talk with today, and I want to get right to it. Up first, we are joined by Grant Holdren from Zeta chapter at Ohio Northern University. Welcome to the podcast, Grant.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's great to be here.
Since we're interviewing so many graduating seniors today, I just have a few questions for you. Maybe you can share your knowledge and wisdom with our listeners. So let's start. What is your degree in?
My degree is a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering here at Ohio Northern University.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you very much.
So tell us, you're welcome. You deserve it. You worked hard. Tell us about what Sigma Pi meant to you during your undergraduate years.
So what Sigma Pi meant to me during undergrad was it absolutely built me a brotherhood and a network, those being two very separate things. My brotherhood was my support system, and my network was those that I was able to reach out to during times of need, being guys at nationals, like such as our current Grand Sage, Christian Melee. It was very, very great to build that. And my time in undergrad, I was able to build my leadership skills dramatically, my confidence, all of that. I was able to lead my chapter as vice president and then later Sage, both of which I'm very grateful for. Wouldn't be the man I am today without being in those positions.
Does anything stand out about your experience as president or vice president of the chapter?
I was able to rebuild the chapter in a time of weakness. We had a little bit of stuff going on, and I was able to, like I said, step up and kind of take all the responsibility for it and turn us around. And I think it went very well. It's going to stick with me for my entire life, and it definitely built a lot of skills.
That's great. Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I've got a question I'm sure many people have asked you lately. What are your plans for the future? What comes next for you, Grant?
So I accepted a job as a mechanical engineering estimator in Hudson, Ohio, just north of Akron. But very, very excited about it. Get to go home and live with my family for a bit. Looking forward to it.
It's very impressive. Good luck. When does that start?
Early June, so not too long at all. Graduating in 2 days and get to go out into the real world.
That's exciting. That's very exciting. I got one final question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates around the country who are listening to the episode today?
I would say absolutely step into leadership roles. I know when I took on my first one, I was not ready for it. I was not looking for it, but my big brother pushed me into heading up recruitment, and that absolutely brought me out of my shell and made me enjoy the fraternity as a whole and led me into taking on executive council roles as well, which I do not regret in the slightest. It was probably the best decision I've ever made.
Thank you for joining us today, Grant.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you for having me.
Up next, we have Justin Zuna from Iota-Phi chapter at Fairleigh Dickinson University at Florham Park. Welcome to the podcast, Justin.
Thank you, Tug. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I only have a few questions for you today. First, what is your degree in?
So I recently just graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Finance.
Very impressive. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you tell us, what did Sigma Pi mean to you during your undergraduate years?
So Sigma Pi during my undergraduate years was an everyday thing for me. Whether it was being on the e-board as president or even just holding committee positions, it's something that shaped my college experience for the better. I know it definitely taught me a lot of values that I'm going to take with me post-grad and left me with absolutely unforgettable memories.
Now, you were president of the chapter.
Yes.
Do any experiences stand out about being president?
I'd say it definitely taught me a lot about how to manage people, gave me a lot of people skills, whether it's resolving inter-chapter conflict or talking to the school, communicating between nationals. It taught me how to manage people better and also how to just navigate through several different factors in my life.
Great, great. And you also have the unique distinction of having joined Sigma Pi in one chapter and then transferring to a different chapter.
Yeah, so actually, when I was in my first chapter, my initial one where I initially pledged, I was on the e-board as secretary. So I was a fourth counselor. They gave me some initial e-board experience. Then that transferred over. I was a secretary again at the chapter that I transferred to, and then the semester after that, being elected president.
That's great. That's great. Okay, I've got a question I'm sure a lot of people have asked you lately. What are your plans for the future? What comes next, Justin?
So post graduation, I'll be starting in July as a wealth management associate at UBS. So hopefully, get to grow within my career, and then hopefully one day even come back and give back to fraternity as much as I can.
That's great. Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Final question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates around the country who are listening to this episode today?
Yeah, I'll say Sigma Pi is definitely what you put into it. If you want to, run for e-board and then, hold committee positions and, navigate, help your brothers out and do different things within the chapter, everything that you put into it, you're going to get out. So I know I put a lot into the chapter and it gave me a lot of things to talk about post grad and it gave me a lot of experiences. But if you want to be the kind of person that just shows up to chapter every week, shows up to the events, does the bare minimum, then you're not going to get as much value out of it as if you could if you put more in. So I'd say give back as much as you can, do everything you could do to make the chapter better, and then overall just leave it better than you found it.
Great advice. Thank you for being on the podcast today, Justin.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Next, I'm happy to welcome Eamonn Kenny from Taw Chapter at Wisconsin. Welcome to Owl Talk, Eamonn.
Hi, glad to be here.
As you know, I only have a few questions for you today. Let's start with your degree. What is your degree in?
So I majored in environmental sustainability and history, and then I also picked up a minor in classics just for fun.
That's incredible. Good for you.
Thank you.
Tell me, what did Sigma Pi mean to you during your undergraduate years?
It meant a lot. So Sigma Pi both provided an outlook for me to make a diverse set of friends, and then it also provided an opportunity for me to be involved in some leadership positions.
Which kind of leadership positions? Maybe tell our listeners a little bit about that.
So I followed the classic pipeline of fourth counselor into Sage, and I really appreciated the opportunities to lead a big group of people and have experience in that kind of position.
Incredible.
It was really interesting to be not in charge, but be in charge of a group of your friends. And I think that provided a really interesting opportunity that helped me understand a lot about myself and others.
Anything stand out to you about your time on the executive council?
I think the diversity was the most interesting thing. And by diversity, I mean diversity of interests, diversity of backgrounds, and stuff like that. It was a really unique challenge to try and combine everybody's backgrounds into one cohesive body that we could all work together. And it was just a really exciting and interesting opportunity. And I'll definitely never forget that.
Cool, cool. Look, here's the question everyone asks graduating seniors. What comes next for you? What are your plans for the future?
So my plans are grad school. So I'd love to get a master's in environmental sustainability. And then I'd like to continue that into working in environmental remediation, which is fixing current environmental problems, mostly on a small scale through soil science and water science. But I'd like to complete grad school first.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Good for you. One final question for you, Eamonn. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates around the country who are listening to this episode right now?
I do, and it's very simple. Get involved. Whether that's being involved in the chapter, in the school, or in your own personal life, just get involved. So what that looks like in Sigma Pi is show up to the events, organize some philanthropy events, be part of the executive council, be a head of a committee, and in the larger sense of school and personal life, go to all your classes, attend all the optional opportunities you can, go outside, hang out with your friends, just take advantage of all the opportunities that are given, and you definitely won't regret it.
Excellent, excellent words of wisdom for the next generation. Thanks for joining us today, Eamonn.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Our next graduating senior is Zeno Zukovich from Theta-Phi chapter at the Pennsylvania College of Technology. Welcome to the podcast, Zeno.
What's up? It's nice to be here. It's an honor.
Can you tell our listeners what your degree is in?
Yeah, I have an associate's in HVAC technology. So that's a 2-year degree. Basically, it helps me become like a service technician, teaches me all the basics, like the beginner things about HVAC. So I can like kind of just get in there into the industry right away. And I don't have to be taught too much, but I still do have a lot to learn. There's all kinds of things. This industry's always advancing, always new things coming on. So it's real good. Pennsylvania College of Technology, they do a great job of teaching the basic know-how and getting you really ready for that workforce.
Excellent. When you're ready to go, you let me know. You're going to come over to my place and fix up my machine here.
Oh yeah, whatever you need, man. Whatever you need. Always willing to help out.
Tell us, what did Sigma Pi mean to you during your undergraduate years?
To me, it meant a lot. It was like my home away from home. It was a place where I really felt like I belong. Brotherhood there, the connections, the friends you make. I lived in the house for 2 years too. That was a big part of it. It was awesome. And when I first joined, there was only 12 guys there, and now there's 35. So, I saw a lot of people come in, a lot of young guys, that were eager, they wanted to be there. They really cared about it. And it was nice to see the place grow from what it was when I joined to where it is now. And even with all these advancing numbers and all these new guys coming in, the brotherhood always stayed the same. There was never any like problems or anything. There was never a lack of brotherhood or connections. Everybody stayed real tight. Everybody there really cared about that place. And that was probably the biggest thing for me, just everybody caring about each other and always making the new brothers feel welcome. And just like everybody, I scratch your back, you scratch mine back. Everybody was there as a support to make sure that the place was being where it needed to go.
That's what we are. We are the home away from home. We are the local support network.
It was awesome. It's been a great experience. I'm sad to leave, but I'm glad that I'm taking a lot from there. It really helped me make progress in myself. And I'm glad that I went through it and did it. I'm a better person than I was then.
Great. Well, speaking about what comes next, what comes next for you? What are your plans for the future?
I'm actually moving down to Florida, St. Petersburg. I have a couple interviews lined up towards the end of the month. I'm packing up all my stuff back home here in Pennsylvania, getting ready to make that long drive, but it's a growing opportunity for me. And I'm just glad that, I got my education and I'm able to advance in my life, and get on with that. More future plans with the fraternity. I do really plan on staying active in there as an alumni and making sure I'm always up to date with the young guys. Cause I've been there for a lot longer than some of the guys that have been there. So it's good to they have that place where they could get the knowledge from, they have an older guy that they can ask questions. I do plan, I don't know exactly how to go about it. I got to talk to some people, but I would love to become the chapter director for my chapter there, just so I can, always make sure that they're on the right path and keeping things going. We also have an alumni club too. I plan on being a big part of that, keeping all the alumni connected and make sure they know what's going on. And if they need help, I'm the guy that they could contact so that they could get it. Because the alumni always love coming back and helping out any way they can, but they just got to know.
Zeno, the fraternity is only strong when good young men like you decide they want to commit a little bit of their adult life to being a volunteer to help make us stronger. So thank you for that. One last question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates around the country who might be listening to this episode right now?
The biggest advice I could get is never stop putting in work. Always put in effort towards the fraternity, because the biggest thing is however much you put in is however much you get out. Always be working to make the place better. Especially like when you're leaving and you're graduating, you should be leaving that place with more than you entered it. That place should be better than what it was when you came in. That's a big thing, making sure that people are hungry, they're putting in the effort, they're keeping the place afloat, they're making sure that everything's getting done. Because if nobody's doing work, if nobody's doing anything, then you're not really truly getting the full Sigma Pi experience.
Great. Thank you for joining us on Owl Talk, Zeno.
Of course. Thank you.
Up next, we have Joel Bell from Alpha-Rho chapter at Missouri State University. Welcome to the podcast, Joel.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell our listeners what your degree is in?
Yeah, so I studied communication with a minor in marketing and public relations.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Tell me, what did Sigma Pi mean to you during your undergraduate years?
In college, Sigma Pi, it was like a rock for me. It really held me accountable with my schoolwork and everything outside of school as well, and helped me become the man I am today.
Are there any experiences that stand out above the rest during your time as an undergraduate?
I was on the executive council I was the secretary and I was also the risk management. And so just dealing with the day to day business of that, it really helped me in my own mindset and building skills that I use every day now.
Yeah, risk management's always a fun one.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any experiences that stand out specific to being on the executive council? Because, of course, what the executive council has to do on a day to day basis is much different than what the everyday general brother is doing.
Yeah, definitely. So talking to the school, especially me as risk manager, talking to them, making sure we're still in good standings with the school really helped me with my kind of business and technical talk and communication of my everyday life.
Almost like you're taking what you learned in the classroom and putting it to work for the fraternity.
Exactly.
I love that. All right, here's the question graduating seniors get asked all the time. What are your plans for the future, Joel?
So I'm from St. Louis. You can maybe tell from my hat. I guess the listeners can't hear that. But, I plan to work in St. Louis in marketing or public relations.
Great, great. Any particular companies or type of PR or any type of industry that stand out?
I'm open to everything. I'm kind of just looking for work. I'm still feeling out what I like, but I know marketing and public relations, it's something I love to do and I love talking to people. So anything in that aspect.
There you go. For our alumni listening who may have opportunities, reach out to Joel.
Oh yeah.
All right, last question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates who might be listening to our podcast today around the country?
Yeah, of course. I got three things. One, hold yourself accountable. No one's going to do it for you. Be someone your younger self looks up to. And then finally, I played basketball in high school, and my coach always told me to box out. And it makes me think of to do the little things right in life. And those things will carry you farther than you ever expect.
I love that. Great, great words of advice. Thank you for joining us on Owl Talk, Joel.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And finally, today we have Ben Stafford from Iota-Rho chapter at Keene State College. Welcome to Owl Talk, Ben.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Can you tell our listeners what your degree is in?
My degree is Bachelor's of Science in Elementary Education, and then I have a double major, so my other one is Bachelor's of Arts in History.
Very impressive. Good for you.
Thank you.
Tell the listeners, what did Sigma Pi mean to you during your undergraduate years?
Wow. So this is my 5th year at Keene State. I joined spring of 2021. So it's still like the COVID years.
Mm-hmm.
At first, it was like the rules with like the recruitment process. It was extended a lot because a lot of people got COVID and stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And it was a little rocky at first, just like the recruitment process. But I always knew, like, going into Keene State, I wanted to join some sort of fraternity, and Sigma Pi was just like the best choice for me because I had a lot of some brothers in the fraternity were on the swim team, and they kind of like dragged me into the. They're like, yeah, like they put some interest towards some of the swimmers, and like, you should join. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of hung out with a lot of them, and I love those boys, so I gave it a try. Sigma Pi, it influenced a lot of things for me, like my personal growth, my understanding of like community. The brotherhood is just like a great community. The Sigma Pi organization as a whole is just amazing. It kind of like influenced my development as like a young adult. I was coming in as a freshman. I wanted to like mature myself for the better, so it definitely helped steer me in the right direction to becoming an adult. And it wasn't just like, when you think of fraternities, you're like, oh my gosh, like parties and this and that. It wasn't like the partying. Like, that's not what what I loved about Sigma Pi. I loved like being involved on campus, not just like in the Greek life community, but just like in the campus as a whole. We've done like so many different things around like the Keene, New Hampshire community. Like, we did a lot of trash pickups. Every year we did a yard cleanup for one of the professors at Keene State. Just things to get us out there and volunteering and make a good name for ourselves. That's just something that I really love, just the community outreach that we had in the Keene community, and just the long lasting friendships that I have built with a lot of the brothers, and just, I don't know, just like friendships and the involvement, just like it meant a lot to me. Sigma Pi helped me a lot as a person.
That's great. That's great. I mean, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you're also on the swim team.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
was, yeah.
So tell me about how being in the fraternity impacted your time with the swim team, and then how being on the swim team impacted your time with the fraternity.
Being an athlete, like Keene State's D3, I mean, it's not like D1, but still like it was really tough. It honestly like helped me like find like a balance and just like academics, fraternity, and like athletics. Like it was just I don't know, it was like an interesting experience just trying to find like a good schedule. And it helped me a lot because like I would wake up, I'd go to practice, I'd go to class, we'd have like tabling events like on campus. Like it was just like it kept me active. And honestly, like if I wasn't doing that, I'd probably be like napping or just like doing something unproductive. So I just like it made me like a really productive member of Keene State College, and I really enjoyed that.
Great, great. All right. So, what are your plans for the future?
So, just graduated last week. I'm job searching right now in Connecticut. That's where I live. So I'm just like trying to find open positions for classroom teachers. Eventually, my main goal is to get my master's degree in special education. That's just something I've always been very passionate about. Submitting applications and just hoping for the best.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Final question for you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the Sigma Pi undergraduates around the country who might be listening to this podcast right now?
I have a lot. Just embrace the brotherhood, but be your own person at the same time. Like it's important, like the bonds you form, they can be very strong and supportive. So be there for your brothers, lean into that camaraderie, and then also be like an active brother, like contribute to your chapter. Don't just sit there and do nothing. It's important to be an active brother if you want to get the full experience. But also like at the same time, don't lose sight of your individual values and goals. It's your unique perspective strengthens the chapter as a whole. So embrace the brotherhood, but also be your own person at the same time. Also put your academics first. Like I said before, like finding that balance. You can be an active brother, but you can also excel in your studies at the same time. And that's just another important thing. And Keene State, like Iota-Rho chapter has had like a really strong full fraternity GPA as a whole. And it's been like we've been kind of at the top for like a few semesters now. And that's just like something that we kind of wanted to like push this like throughout my years. Like it's just academics because if you don't have the GPA, you can't be an active brother. So it's like important to have, decent grades to in order to keep being a brother. Uphold the core values, fellowship, service, leadership, moral awareness, academic achievement. That's just another important thing that you need to do. Make relationships with other orgs on campus. It's good that you have like your own group, so like Sigma Pi, but what I've found is that it's also a good thing to, make good relationships with other orgs, whether that be like sororities or fraternities. I was on IFC for 2 years, the Interfraternity Council.
Oh, wow.
I was vice president of communications, and that's just something that like I didn't expect to be on. Like going into, I didn't even know what the Interfraternity Council was going into Keene State because I wasn't a part of Greek life yet. But my brothers nominated me, and I kind of took that chance. And not only did it allow me to make good relationships with other fraternity men at Keene State, but it also allowed me to make positive changes to the Greek life as a whole. And that was like a really rewarding experience. And I really enjoyed that. And lastly, just enjoy the ride. What I noticed, like this is my 5th year. Seems like a long time, but it went by really fast. So just like embrace those friendships, experiences, and the opportunities that Sigma Pi has to offer because there's a lot of great opportunities that you guys offer.
Great. Great advice for the next generation, Ben. Thank you for joining us on today's
course.
podcast.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.
All right, folks. As I mentioned to start this episode, today's podcast wraps up this season of Owl Talk. We had a great time over the last year talking to Sigma Pi undergraduates and alumni on a wide variety of topics, from sports to entrepreneurship to the fraternity's history and so much more. We're going to take off the months of June and July, but we will be back in the month of August with more Owl Talk. For all of our listeners, remember you can stay up to date on everything going on in the world of Sigma Pi Fraternity by following us across social media. We are at Sigma Pi, all one word, on Instagram, X, and Facebook. On YouTube, we are at Sigma Pi Fraternity, also all one word. Thank you to everyone who listened to this episode, and we look forward to you joining us for the next Owl Talk podcast.